thank you, Jordan, for doing this. This is going to be shown at the 25th anniversary of the Austin Film Festival at a session we do every year with my charting, my story mapping tool. And every year is the Writers Guild winner of the Best Dramatic Screenplay Award that we like to do the chart with. And I really appreciate you taking your time. You can't see them right now, but there will be about 100, 150 writers and directors and producers and fans that are all applauding you right now. So we'd like to welcome you to the 25th anniversary of the Austin Film Festival. We're very pleased to have you, and I'll keep this brief. There's a few questions that we'd like to ask. Some of them you heard before. And I guess not everybody in the audience is going to know the film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Mm-hmm. But was this an urban legend, or did this have something to do with not the genesis of Get Out, but there were comparisons? It was very controversial for its time in terms of race relations.
It did have a good deal to do with how I developed the story. The beginning nuggets of this screenplay were really coming from a emotional place, a feeling, and the fear that I wanted to capture in this movie was this fear of being observed. And being observed by a bunch of people who are acting like they're not observing you. And I think I quickly sort of tied that in with race and the feeling of being Black in a white space. And I was writing the script. I had several different versions of the story going. And at some point I realized, oh, it's Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So I think I was operating with a version of it where a girl brings her boyfriend to meet all of her high school friends, and it was all sort of inside joke and all that. And at some point I realized, no, this has got to be a family thing.
And it makes it more grown up and takes it out of the kind of teen, exploitation or horror film. Yeah, yes. It's a very smart move.
And there's a wider sort of variety of people to interact with, and there's also a certain, as you said, there's a certain adult relatability to the fear of meeting your potential in-laws for the first time. And I recognized, like, look, I knew this was a tough one, could be a tough one to sell, because I think people would assume when hearing the premise that there's no way this can be done right. So, looking back at how Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, I think one of the reasons that was able to sort of cross the boundary of racism and become a popular movie was that everyone knows what it feels like to meet your in-laws. And that's universal, even though this particular dynamic makes it extreme.
You started, I believe you started the idea for Get Out. Was that always the title? Was Get Out always the title?
No, for a while it was. The working title was Get Out of the House.
Okay. Yeah. Guess Who's Getting Out of the House? Yeah.
Guess Who's Getting Out of the House? Yeah.
There was a different president I believe there was a different president when you first started working on the script or on the idea. Did any of the political changes and shifts from the Obama administration to the Trump administration, did that have any impact on the evolution of the story? I'm not trying to get political. I'm just wondering did your mood change? Did something change inside you or outside you?
Yes. Trump was basically elected between when I shot the movie and when it came out. And so that was in the editing phase. And by the time we were in the phase of picking up some additional photography, Trump was I don't think he had been elected yet, I'm not sure, but the climate was, the surrounding race was becoming more out in the open. And there was this discussion of Black Lives Matter was happening in a way we hadn't seen. And yeah, more specifically, there was attention being brought to Black people being murdered by police. And so because the Obama era was just surrounded with this post-racial lie, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, I was sort of showing this movie and testing it in a world that was race weary. Several months later, but both for good and bad reasons, race weary. But I remember specifically feeling that the original, when I showed the original ending, which was, of course, as you probably know, Chris, it doesn't end well. Chris ends up in prison, and it's meant to be a gut blow, but it's also a downer. It was an extra special downer, and because the state of the world had evolved and these conversations were happening. So that's when I made the decision to give us a happy ending, which I don't know if I would have in the Obama era, firmly in the Obama era, where everyone was, seemed certain that race wasn't a thing anymore.
Well, there's one of the struggle that a writer, these are all writers and they're all interested in the process, and the struggle with beginnings and endings, is what we all wake up at that nightmare, So one of the principles that we'll be discussing today, instead of a happy ending or a sad ending, I refer to it as a satisfying ending. Did you give your audience an ending that they're satisfied with, not that they're pissed off by or feel derailed or cheated by? Is it satisfying? So did you wrestled with this ending? Did you wrestle with it in post, or did you wrestle with it when you were shooting? How did you find that satisfying ending?
When I wrestled with it in the script phase, and I wrestled with it in post. So in the script phase, as you do, I had many different ways this could go. There was several different endings. Some nobody even knows about. I in the script phase, I settled on the gut blow version. Hey, you might only get to do this once. Boom, hit them with it, and rip the fun out from under them. They've already given me their money, sort of thing.
Well, it is.
As we got closer, and
go ahead.
Well, yeah, as we got closer to the the launch, and I really realized this is really happening, and I'd done so much work to serve the audience, and I think that's just where I come from as a filmmaker. I think the other version, the badass, I don't care what you think of my film, I made my film thing is not really me. I come from comedy, so I in my soul, the one guy that's not laughing is my failure. So I went with in the last hour, I felt very content with the decision that we have to give him a hero. And more importantly, the moment the car comes up, the cop car rolls up, and the audience goes, "Oh,
dear guy," yeah.
That moment achieves my point.
Yeah.
Right. No matter how much farther I take it, they've done the work. I don't need to make a point. They've made the point. So it's even more subversive and more elegant to let that be, and then give us our fun win as well.
Well, that paranoia still creeps up on everybody. I don't care what your ethnic background is. When that cop car shows up, you're going, fuck. No,
right.
It's antler guy. Yeah. It's deer hunter cop. It's the antler guy on the road. You mentioned something that I'm a big proponent of in the work that we do with structure is audience. You talked about you're an audience guy, and a lot of filmmakers and a lot of writers don't ever have the audience present in their process. And I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but so they're not just hearing it from me. Could you talk about the audience a little bit when you're writing and when you're thinking that do you bring them with you? What's your connection to the audience in this process?
I've because I've been on stage a lot and and done a lot of comedy, live comedy, I think I do have a nice little extra voice of the audience in my head. And you know, I'm always with comedy. You're always thinking about the audience because you're always trying to subvert their expectations, so that they don't get ahead of you and say, "Okay, you're dumb," or you know, "This is dumb," or "This is trying to speak to somebody who's less intelligent than I am." You know, as far as I'm concerned, the audience, that you know, there's no movie without the audience.
Yep.
It doesn't exist if someone's not seeing it for the first time or whatever. So anything less than trying to get every single member of the audience is kind of lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
You have to assume there is a way to get what you want as an artist and to give the audience what they want.
Well, I guess ultimately they decide whether you're a success or not. Doesn't matter how hard you worked or how many years you slaved over
and
it.
there's that. Well, the stakes are you're going to be often your ability to do it again or do another one or do. So that's pretty important.
I appreciate that. Two last questions real quickly. You said that this is a movie you have to see more than once. What is it that people miss what is it that we mostly missed in that first viewing that when we go back a second time, we go, oh, I mean, I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to hear your view on that.
Yeah, well, you know, certainly any movie with a reveal or a twist, you can watch again and with a new perspective on what you saw the first time pre-twist. A movie that kind of honors that second viewing and the first really is a movie where the clues were there.
Yeah.
If you you know, but you missed them. I think that's the most satisfying thing as an audience, to feel like I wasn't treated like I'm a dum-dum, but because I'm not, and I almost got it, but I didn't. And he then went and you can see the proof that he was he was laying out the breadcrumbs for me.
Yeah.
So,
like,
I mean, in this movie,
like the opening is, I had to watch it twice to go, oh, that's the guy. You know,
that's Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah.
That's kidnapped in the beginning. Yeah. That's what I think. You know, there's I put a lot of detail to make sure that second viewing it worked, and there's these layers. I mean, a big thread to follow, of course, is Rose. And you know, now what we know from Rose, you know, the first moment we see her, she's, you know, having a moment she's selecting a pastry with that weird little smile on her face. That first time you watch it is just the sweetest ingenue you could imagine, and it has a completely different, sinister take the next time. So there's many of her actions that mean something different going through. And my favorite, of course, is the thread with the grandfather and the grandmother, Walter and George, and this idea that Grandpa had lost to Jesse Owens.
Yeah. And no, so you can run fast.
He was always chasing that. You know, he built this mythology that there was a racial reason he didn't win, and that this whole thing kind of comes from that. That's why, of course, we see Walter running.
Well, that's what's diabolical about the ending. I mean, I specifically have not charted the ending until today when we do this live with our group, because the ending is diabolical. The roller coaster ride you take us on and the ups and downs, and it's like, whoa, one reveal after another. That's what I mean. It's a very satisfying ending. All of your conflicts, all the threads you pulled together in a very satisfying ending. And she creeps me out. She creeps me out. Rose.
Betty.
Rose.
Rose.
Betty. Oh, yeah. Betty's incredible. That
Yeah,
actor,
yeah.
I forgot her name, but those
Betty Gabriel, who plays Georgina. Yes.
incredible. Georgine, incredible.
Very creepy. Allison Williams is, the fact that she can do both sides of that performance just shows you how good a liar she is, really.
Yeah, it's amazing. The same smile when I got the keys that she has at the pastry store. The same
Right.
smile. So, last question.
Okay.
Is there going to be a Get Outer?
You know what? As the farther I move from it, I don't think so. I will. And never say never. I'll tell you this: I would never do it as like a money grab. I would only do it because I've got the story to make the Get Out universe that much sweeter. And I got some ideas, but right now I don't have it, and I love making new worlds.
Well, we really appreciate your taking the time to talk to us today. And I know everybody behind me and around me, I'm giving my best Bradley Whitford, in case you hadn't noticed, is about to hopefully enjoy this next hour and a half. And we certainly have enjoyed your film and look forward to the next adventure that you bring us. And
thank you. It's called Us, and it comes out March 15th. 19th. So it's coming up. I'm editing it right now. It's good.
Are we going to laugh more on this one?
You know what? It is. I'll tell you what. You will laugh. You will be scared. And there will much like Get Out, there will be a range.
Well, coming from you, we'll take it as gospel and not to think to expect anything less. So here's your little tribute.
Oh my God!
We're all clicking our teacups.
I'm actually in the
chair.
The chair right now. This is Missy's chair.
I love it. So perfect, satisfying ending. Thank you, sir. Great pleasure.